At a gas station, a man, the station attendant, is seen doing his job while relaxing in front of the station. However, Blake hears something from behind the bushes. Initially, Blake thinks it's just an animal, but upon checking, he is attacked by a mysterious creature. A few moments later, we are introduced to a couple planning to go camping, a woman named Polly and her boyfriend Seth. However, when they try to set up their tent, unfortunately, it can't be properly erected. As a result, they decide to stay at a nearby motel. While packing, Seth tells Polly that this area is a protected forest that has not been touched by humans, and the trees in this forest are forbidden to be cut down. Then they continue their journey. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a pair of criminals named Dennis and Lacey experience car trouble. Dennis takes his Glock pistol and discards all their belongings along with the car. During their journey, they encounter Polly and Seth's car. Seeing an opportunity, Dennis, being a criminal, immediately tries to hijack their car. Held at gunpoint, Polly and Seth, terrified, reluctantly hand over their car. However, whatever Dennis plans, Polly and Seth are forced to come along as hostages. During the journey, Dennis takes their wallets and discards their phones until finally they ran over something. Due to the incident, their car's tire gets punctured. Polly and Dennis then change the spare tire. As Dennis handles the punctured tire, his finger is accidentally pricked by a thorn from the tire. Meanwhile, Lacey and Seth inspect the animal carcass they recently hit. There, Lacey says the carcass is her pet dog, Ginger. Since Seth is a biology student, Lacey tells Seth to save Ginger, which, as we can see, is clearly impossible given the mangled state of the carcass. But strangely, the carcass suddenly moved again. Panicking, they quickly leave, and hear the thorn from the old tire grow and move on its own. This implies that the thorn in Dennis's finger came from the animal carcass they hit earlier. Lacey, still panicking, then says that her beloved dog, Ginger, tried to attack her earlier. But Dennis calms Lacey down, saying that Ginger has been dead for a long time and the carcass she saw was just a wild animal from the forest. It's revealed here that Lacey suffers from a mental disorder. Soon after, their car's radiator suddenly breaks down, forcing them to stop at the gas station at the beginning of the film. Upon arrival, Seth is told to fill the gas. Polly and Dennis go to buy radiator coolant, while Lacey goes to the toilet to calm down. As Lacey opens the door, suddenly Blake, who was attacked by a wild animal at the beginning of the film, is still alive with broken bones and many thorns growing all over his body. Panicking, Lacey immediately reports to Dennis. However, it was clear that Dennis thought Lacey's hallucinations were getting worse until Blake began to attack Lacey, and Dennis managed to fire several bullets into Blake's body. But because Blake still appeared to be moving, the three of them entered the convenience store, locked the door, and left Lacey outside. As the situation grew more chaotic, Polly intended to call the police. However, Dennis, seeing this, immediately smashed the phone because he did not want to deal with the authorities. Dennis then struck Polly with the gun handle, unplugged the phone cable, and took money from the cash register until he saw on the CCTV footage that Lacey's body was still moving. Seeing this, Dennis decided to bring Lacey's body into the store. But Seth held Dennis back, saying that Blake's corpse was also still moving. Ignoring Seth, Dennis went outside to save Lacey. Inside the store, Polly saw an opportunity and locked the door. However, a paranoid Seth asked Polly to keep the door open for Dennis, fearing Dennis could shoot them at any time. Eventually, Dennis managed to re-enter the store, but it was seen that Lacey's severed hand was still moving and appeared to be alive. Despite being weighed down by an object by Dennis, the hand continued to move as if nothing had happened. Here, Seth, a biology student, concluded that something had entered Blake's body, a type of parasite that used blood as its fuel, and this parasite always sought a host. Eventually, the hand died, and Lacey was seen moving again, trying to break down the door. Dennis, feeling deeply distressed by his girlfriend's horrific condition, was taken to the back room by Seth to calm down. In the back room, a desperate Dennis confessed that he and Lacey had planned to go to Mexico to start a new life. Then Seth and Polly had the idea to escape through the back door, but unfortunately, it was locked. Seth then attempted to break the door hinges, but behind the wooden door, there was an iron door that was not only locked, but also padlocked. Meanwhile, Lacey, who had been banging on the store door, now tried to climb to the store's roof. Shortly after, a policewoman named Terry arrived and was shocked to see Dennis, as the police had been searching for him for a long time. They kept urging Terry to leave the area because the situation was extremely dangerous. Dennis also told Terry to call for help. However, due to the soundproof door, Terry couldn't hear them clearly and assumed that Dennis was holding Seth and Polly hostage inside the store and had killed Blake in the gas station parking lot. Unfortunately, Terry ended up dead. Polly, witnessing this, became increasingly hysterical and began to believe that the three of them would meet the same fate as Terry. Dennis also said that help was unlikely to come because no one knew their whereabouts, and the police thought Dennis was on his way to Mexico and would search for him there. Eventually, Dennis remembered they were in a protected forest area and planned to set the forest on fire so the police and firefighters would come to their location. Finally, they poured gasoline towards the forest area. However, Seth worried that the fire would spread and ignite the gas pump in front of the convenience store. In the middle of their conversation, suddenly they heard the sound of Terry's walkie-talkie that had fallen nearby. Using a hook, Seth and Polly retrieved Terry's walkie-talkie. But here, the thorn wound on Dennis's finger began to spread and started breaking his finger. Dennis quickly wrapped his hand and kept it a secret from Seth and Polly. When they finally retrieved the walkie-talkie, suddenly the mysterious creature attacked again, trying to pull the hook, and the walkie-talkie turned out to be damaged. Meanwhile, the severed hand started chasing them, cornering them until they escaped through the refrigerator connected to the cooling warehouse. Oddly, the parasitic hand lost its instinct and couldn't track them. Suddenly, the parasite in Dennis's hand started rebelling, and thorns began growing from his hand. Dennis asked Seth to cut off his hand. However, since Seth was only using a cutter, he couldn't cut through Dennis's bone. Finally, Seth had a crazy idea to break Dennis's bone using a large stone block. While resting, Dennis explained why he became a fugitive. He said that he and Lacey robbed a bank account key and also shot a truck driver. However, the driver didn't die immediately. He died a year later. The driver's wife lived in misery because all their money was spent on her husband's medical bills. Therefore, as a penance, Dennis planned to go to Mexico with Lacey and give all his savings to the driver's wife. During their conversation, Seth concluded that the parasite attacking them was attracted to objects generating heat waves. That's why Blake's parasite jumped onto the hot car hood, and the parasitic hand couldn't track them in the cooling warehouse because their body temperature was cold. Finally, Seth decided to go outside the convenience store and get the police car to save them by lowering his body temperature with ice piled on his body. Seth lowered his body temperature to 93 degrees Fahrenheit. However, Seth's body temperature shouldn't drop below 89 degrees Fahrenheit, or he would suffer from hypothermia, which would be life-threatening. Finally, Seth went out to the parking lot while Polly and Dennis planned to throw firecrackers at the back of the convenience store to lure the parasite with the heat generated by the firecrackers. With limited steps, Seth finally reached the police car. Unfortunately, he couldn't contact the police yet, and his body temperature gradually returned to normal. Meanwhile, Polly, worried about Dennis, went to check on Seth and stopped throwing firecrackers. Eventually, the parasitic creature disappeared from their sight. As the situation became more critical, Polly and Dennis took shelter in the refrigerator. At the same time, sparks from the firecrackers in the back warehouse ignited the gasoline they had previously poured, causing the warehouse to catch fire. The severed hand of Lacey's parasite, detecting the heat waves, jumped into the fire and burned. The parasitic monster chasing Polly and Dennis became distracted. It didn't take long for Seth to grab the shotgun from the police car and start shooting at the parasitic monster. However, since it didn't cause any damage, Dennis took the shotgun from Seth and told him to get out of there. Using only one hand, Dennis skillfully fired the shotgun accurately. Unfortunately, Dennis ran out of bullets, and the parasitic creature turned the tables. Cornered, Dennis lured the creature out of the convenience store. Instead of shooting the parasite, Dennis aimed at the gas pump tank. The resulting explosion killed the parasitic creature. Dennis, already in a critical condition, handed his bank account key to Polly and Seth. He told them to give all the money in his account to the truck driver's wife and advised them to get married soon. In his final moments, Dennis shot at the gas tank pile, causing the entire gas station to explode, destroying the remaining parasites. Seth and Polly continued their journey to Mexico to fulfill Dennis's last wish. At the end of the film, a scene shows that the parasitic creature was not entirely destroyed. The film ends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Because by subscribing, you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.